again, Starscream. Get them!
Welcome back to the channel, guys, and today we are talking Transformers, and most specifically one of my favourite Transformers, the leader of the Decepticons, Megatron. And why are we talking about Megatron today? Well, I want to get your views and your opinions on which version of Megatron has been the best in the Transformers movie franchise. Now, in the Transformers movie franchise, we have seen 5 alt modes of Megatron. This matches the 5 movies. We've seen in Transformers 1, Megatron as a Cybertronian jet. In Revenge of the Fallen, he was a Cybertronian tank. In Transformers Dark of the Moon, he was an old, broken down truck. Then he became Galvatron in Age of Extinction, and once again he was a truck. However, this time he was a much improved truck, one to rival Optimus Prime. And then finally, in Transformers The Last Knight, Galvatron is no more and Megatron has returned. No explanation whatsoever what happened to Galvatron, but Megatron is back, and once again Megatron is a Cybertronian jet. Now, Megatron may have had 5 alt modes, but he hasn't had 5 robot modes. From Transformers 1 to Transformers 3, which is Dark of the Moon, he had pretty much one mode only, one robot mode. And it hadn't really varied that much. Yes, a little bit to match his alt mode, but nevertheless it's the same mold throughout those 3 films. In Age of Extinction, he looks completely different. And then in Transformers The Last Knight, well, he's not Galvatron anymore, he's Megatron again, and he looks very much beast-like in this movie. So he has 3 versions of himself throughout the entire franchise, and I want to know which version you think looks the best, and also which personality matches Megatron the most. So let's take a look at Megatron from Transformers 1 to 3. And I have to say that when you look at this version of Megatron, and when you first saw it for the first time, because this was the first ever Transformers movie, this version of Megatron looks very menacing, very intimidating, very evil, and he actually had the personality to match it. Now, albeit that he's not in the entire movie in the first film, his presence is pretty damn strong when he does make his arrival, because when he awakes after being frozen by the humans after crash landing to Earth, he awakens with a bang. He immediately makes sure that every single Decepticon knows that he is in control and that his command is the only command, as he voices his absolute disappointment in Starscream. He says, "You failed me yet again, Starscream." He also speaks in Cybertronian, and I think that's something that over the past 5 films has kind of fallen away from the Transformers. It doesn't really feel like they are Cybertronian at times. It feels like they are Earthlings. And what I mean by that is the fact that even in the way they look as they've progressed throughout the films, they've taken a more humanized look. Megatron in Transformers 1 to 3, he had pincer-like hands. As you can see from his face, it's very robot-like, it's sharp, it's alien-like, it has Cybertronian markings as well. I really do think that this version represents what Cybertron is really like, and that's what I enjoy about this version. In the latter films, I feel like their facial features have begun to take more of a human look to try and give them character. I get it, but I think that takes away a little bit from the robot. So I actually really loved this version. As I said, I felt that this version was very mean, very menacing. He also had that little bit of beast in him, because he used to growl at times, and also, as I said, his command was the only command. And even in point when he was seriously hurt, like in Transformers Dark of the Moon, this is an old, broken down version of Megatron after having his face damn near blown off in Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. This version of Megatron is still ruthless, still scheming, and also still with the mindset that his command is the only command. Because in the final sequence, when Rosie Huntington-Whiteley questions Megatron, and she puts to him that you're just gonna be Sentinel's bitch if Cybertron is brought to Earth, he growls, he roars, and then he comes back with a vengeance. And it's one of the most iconic moments in the movie franchise, as he comes round that corner and you hear that trademark gun blast from Megatron's cannon, and he takes down Sentinel Prime, someone who he aligned himself with. But as I said, you can never trust Megatron, and his command is the only command for the Decepticons. And he takes out Sentinel, but ultimately meets his demise with Optimus Prime. So let's move on. Let's talk about the next incarnation of Megatron. Well, Megatron is no more at this point, and we venture into Transformers Age of Extinction, where we see the birth of Galvatron. And Galvatron is created by the humans. That's a story I wasn't keen on. I didn't like that they went down this route, to be honest. I don't feel that is the true story of why Galvatron, or how Galvatron is created, but nevertheless we will go with it. And Galvatron has a slight problem, because the humans have built Galvatron using Transformium, which they have been working on. They have understood the Transformers technology, and now they feel they can build Transformers, and the actual Transformers in terms of the Autobots are surplus to requirements. But this version has a major problem, because the humans have built Galvatron in the form of Optimus Prime, but he looks nothing like Optimus. And the reason for that is because they salvaged the head of Megatron, and they were using that head to get signals to Galvatron. And obviously Megatron was populating that head, that mind, with evil thoughts. And that's what I feel with Galvatron. He kind of comes across as confused, a bit of a loose cannon, a bit out of control, because he's got in one ear the humans, in the other Megatron, and he can't work out what he wants to be. And we can see how much of a loose cannon and how out of control he is when the humans let him loose for the first time, when he chases the Autobots, because he tries to transform and he's all over the place. He literally disperses and pulls himself back together. That looks amazing, by the way. That transformation looked unbelievable. However, he is in no means in control, and I feel that a version of Megatron was always calculated and had a plan. This guy doesn't have it at all. Even when he gains control of the KSI robots like Stinger, I still don't feel he's actually in any control whatsoever. And I also feel that this version in Galvatron very much has a coward's attitude. And what I mean by that is, in the battle between Optimus Prime and Galvatron, the moment Lockdown arrives, he runs away. Now the humans call him away. They say pull back Galvatron, because Lockdown, the other asset, is there. But I would imagine that if Galvatron has Megatron in the ear, he would just stand tall, ignore being called back, and say, "I am Galvatron, and my command is this." And he'd actually work with Lockdown to pick apart Optimus Prime and then probably stab Lockdown in the back. That's what I would have seen. That's what I would have thought I'd see. But you don't. And this version of Megatron just kind of, you know, he doesn't really do anything. You know, he plays major second fiddle to Lockdown. And then even at the end of the movie in Transformers Age of Extinction, he says that him and Optimus, their paths will cross once more. But they don't. Because after this movie, Galvatron is gone. In terms of look, I wasn't even that keen on the way that Galvatron looked. I think the big orange open chest looked pretty damn cool. But he's very bright, and I kind of think a darker tone for a Decepticon works. And as I said, I wasn't that keen on the whole, you know, he was man-made. And I also think his face is a little bit too human-like. He's got very much defined features. He's not sharp and aggressive like the original version of Megatron. He actually looks like a human face. Big eyes, you can kind of see the nose and the mouth. So wasn't keen overall in what we got in Galvatron. Now let's move to the final Transformers movie of the franchise so far, Transformers The Last Knight. And once again, Megatron has had an overhaul. He really has, because he's not Galvatron anymore. Galvatron is done and dusted. Not even a word how Galvatron has reverted back to Megatron. It would have been nice, but we didn't get it. But Galvatron is gone and Megatron is here. And I have to say, this version, the look, he looks fantastic. He looks like a beast. He's got those tusks for his face guard. And I would say that if there was a Transformers Beast Wars movie, this could have been the perfect looking robot mode. I mean, because he looks like a beast anyway. He has got that old kind of knight feel from medieval times. That is a kind of criticism, because I do think that at times you could get lost between Megatron and the knights. That's not really great. But overall, I think that it is a fantastic look. And we have to also acknowledge that we've only seen this version of Megatron once. So we don't really know an awful lot about his personality. And that's probably something that I'd also say is a negative, because we don't really get a personality from this version of Megatron. He doesn't come across as very ruthless. He's even willing to meet with the humans for almost a meeting with lawyers and Colonel Lennox. And I just don't think that's Megatron. Megatron would probably rock up to this, give a false sense to the humans, and then blast them away with his cannon. That's Megatron. But yeah, he has to bargain. He doesn't have any major battles in Transformers The Last Knight. Even the final battle with Optimus Prime, he is very, very weak. And if we compare him to the version of Megatron from the first 3 movies, that version of Megatron had been to war on numerous occasions. The final battle scene between Megatron and Optimus Prime in the original movie is fantastic. And like I said, I'm a huge fan of Dark of the Moon, when Megatron takes out Sentinel only to meet his demise from Optimus. So I think this version of Megatron could very well look the best, but he doesn't have the best personality. So that brings me to the conclusion that the best version of Megatron is the original incarnation. This version right here, because he had the personality, he had the ruthlessness, he looks mean, he looks menacing, and that to me is what Megatron is all about. So let me know what you think via the comment section below. Which version in terms of the robot mode and the personality is your favourite from the Transformers movie franchise? I want to get your views and opinions. This is just a conversation. I love talking about Transformers, and if there are any subjects you would like me to talk about in regards to Transformers, let me know via the comment section below. Get involved, let me know your favourite version of Megatron, and all that's left to be said is please rate, comment and subscribe. This is Delzinski signing out.